So good evening. Good evening. How is everybody?
Good. Nice and toasty warm.
Is it okay? Just drop it down. Sorry, it lowered on me quickly.
Can I get a pillow for my feet? Oh, yes. Purple one? Purple one, if you could. Thank you. Matches my sweater. How are you guys this evening?
Good, how are you?
Did you have a good trip?
I did.
Good.
Yeah, thanks. It was good. It was really neat watching you. Last week I was sick, watching it on you stream.
Yeah.
It was like enjoyment. But since I knew everybody in the class, I recognized people's voices and stuff. It was just an interesting experience.
Yeah. You feeling better?
Yeah. I still have a cold, but it's not terrible anymore.
Well, at least it held off till you got back.
Yeah. Yes.
So next week, my Holy Lama may come. So I have a favor to ask you guys. Don't do any bowing.
Okay.
Because I have a vow that nobody bows to me and my Lama's present. So if she's here. Thank you. Do you want to exchange homework? Do something? How are you doing?
Good.
Thanks. How did the meditations go? Yes?
Well, I found I have a meditation practice that's kind of in place that takes up a lot of my time for that. So I thought, how can I make a meditation, how can I make a contemplation work? So I'm also walking every day. So I thought, well, I'll just take my contemplation out on the road. And I found that when my mind, if you have like 100% hopefully availability in your mind, 40% or 50% of it's taken up by blowing leaves and walking and that whole thing and cars going by and stuff, then the rest of it I can pretty much think about something. So one doesn't disturb the other. And it was very effective.
Cool.
So, and I also have some ideas I can talk to you about later about how to, where anger comes from, or how you might think about it, approach it.
Anybody else have any interesting observations?
It's amazing how many weeks you can meditate on anger and where it comes from and still come up with stuff.
A deep subject.
Yeah.
For most people. So Janet, this week the class is treating others as yourself. So exchanging self and others. But you asked last week about analytical meditation, so I wanted to cover some on that. Oh, and I should say that this is ACI Course 11, Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, Part 2, Class 9, Contemplations on the Perfection of Meditation. And, but from last week, analytical meditation, thank you, because it really taught me a lot to go and look at it, because I haven't looked at it for quite a while, and I don't know how deeply I looked at it then. So it's been a long time, and I learned a lot in researching it and developing kind of my own understanding of it, which I'll share in a couple of minutes, but I wanted to give you a little bit of information from coming from Geshe Michael Roach from ACI Course 1 in the review class, which is, some of the courses actually have a Class 11, which is a review class, but we're not going to do one for this class. And he says that learning refers to classroom hours. Thinking or contemplation is the same as analytical meditation. Meditation means that after coming to a conclusion from contemplation, you meditate to burn it into your consciousness. You meditate repeatedly to burn it into yourself. And then he goes over in ACI Course 3, Class 8, the 3 kinds of meditation. Does anybody know what the 3 kinds are? You already got one, analytical.
Single-pointed.
Mm-hmm.
And review.
Review, yep, review and single-pointed. So the term for single-pointed, which is considered kind of the first one, is jok gom. That's single-pointed meditation in Tibetan. And it's putting your mind on an object, such as a Buddha image, and he says this is what you normally think of, most people think of as meditation. The second one is Shargam. And that's review, going along certain steps of an outline with one pointed mind, so you know them backwards, forwards, and in mixed order. And the steps of the outline are the object of the meditation, which you review repeatedly in different ways. So this is like the death meditation or the Lam Rim meditation. Those are review meditations. And the third one, analytical meditation, is Che Che Gong. And that is, he describes it as debating a concept with yourself, and as a result of this you will come to a conclusion and then switch to Jok Gom, the single-pointed meditation, putting your mind on an object, using that conclusion as the object. So I hadn't thought of it in that way, that there's like an end point to the analytical, and then you go on to single-pointed. Wilma Christie has got something on it as well in her book, Tibetan Book of Meditation, which is a great book. She says that analytical meditation takes a bit of practice. At the beginning, sometimes we just don't know where to begin. Which is kind of what you were saying, Janet, right? Where to start. This is one trick to doing them, and that is to do them in the debate style. In the monastery, the monks spend hours and hours debating with each other in the evenings. They sit under the stars and argue the finer points of Buddhist philosophy, sometimes until the wee hours of the morning, getting ever closer to the truth. There are no winners and no losers, only whatever understanding is gained by everyone by the end of the night. Nonetheless, those arguments can sometimes get quite heated. Debate-style meditation is similar. You take a particular position in your own mind, like life is pain. Then you create a devil's advocate, an opponent in your own head who says, "Come on, life is great." And you simply let them argue it out with each other until you reach a conclusion. And the Tibetan word for the opponent, it's defender and attacker. So the attacker or the opponent is coach. Begins with a K, and I'll get to it. Oh well, I think I'm so clever I can't find it. I'll tell you in a minute. but that's what it'll refer to. Sure, it's a bit like playing chess with yourself. It's a bit schizophrenic, but if you have doubts about something, those two opposing viewpoints are already there inside your mind, and you can't move on until this inner conflict is solved, so best to let them hash it out and get it over with. In Buddhism, it's okay to have doubts about something until you have proved it logically to be true. In fact, this kind of rational way of thinking is encouraged. This is not a philosophy where someone would ever say, life is pain because I said so. You must come to the understanding yourself, or else it is not a true understanding. So analytical meditations are invaluable. So that was what she had to say. I thought it was really helpful because it's a different way of describing it than the way Geshe Michael did. So I also found one more thing from a website called Contemplative, and it's contemplative.nl. I think it's from the Netherlands. And it said, the essence of analytical meditation, sometimes referred to as contemplative meditation, is the investigation, analysis, or processing of new information or of an experience with the aim of developing more insight and certainty about it. A prerequisite for engaging in analytical meditation is to sit down with a genuine question and the willingness to search for a real answer to that question, because the aim is to gain more certainty. The question must be a meaningful one. So to me it means taking a problem or a situation that I'm grappling with, taking it into meditation. So it can work, or I should say it has worked well for me when there's something that's on my mind that won't let me meditate. So I just welcome it in and say, okay, I'm going to debate this with myself. So that's been really helpful. And it's putting the strength of my meditation practice to work to let go of preconceptions, biases, and bound up assumptive thinking, which has been something I've had to deal with a lot lately. So this was a good reminder to do some analytical meditation on some of the issues that I'm considering. So it also means to continue to examine in a calm, clear light of a contemplative mind an issue, doubt, or question. So doubts are it's a really good way to approach a doubt. It's putting your meditation to work in a new way until you get accustomed to it, and then it's really quite easy because you're accustomed to it. You're going to go to it as a tool in your toolbox when you need it, when you need to figure something out. So now on to this class, and this is exchanging self and others. We'll go over it. So we're still talking about the perfection of meditation, but through the 6 perfections, what are we really talking about? What's our aim with the 6 perfections as bodhisattvas? Well, what do you need before that? Yeah. That's what I was going for. You could have said the DPE as well, but we're talking about the care of all living beings. So I was going to do a quick meditation if you want to make yourself comfortable. This is on real bodhicitta and the first experience of it. So just let yourself breathe and sink in to your sits bones with your spine straight. And just feel your heart chakra from the inside, the area in the middle of your chest. And see a light there. It's a nice warm light on a cold night like this. And feel it grow. Feel it expand up through your shoulders to your head, down your arms, into your hips, and down your legs, so your entire body is filled with this light. Feel the warmth. And feel it still growing. Until it's so great that light pours out of every pore of your body. And it reaches everybody in the room. And then everyone in Rockport. And everyone in Cape Ann. And all of Massachusetts and New England. All the entire country, then the continent. And spreading east and south till this beautiful light that's coming from you touches every living being in the whole planet. It's a feeling of love. Feeling a deep compassion for everyone. All the survivors in the Philippines. And all the survivors of war and calamity throughout the world. On inner body terms, this would be the opening of the heart chakra. But we'll call it bodhicitta. And slowly feel the light coming back. And take a deep breath. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So, with it comes the desire to bring them all to total enlightenment. And that's what the 6 perfections bring us, is this deep wish and the wish in action. So it's a real goal with steps to achieve it. And we'll have some of those steps tonight from Master Shantideva. So to follow the steps is a lot better than, is somebody out there?
Yeah.
Oh,
Shy.
oh, come on in.
It's right over here.
Hi. Thanks for not coming in during the meditation. Appreciate that. Welcome. So taking the steps is a lot better than sitting around and waiting for one day to just magically feel that you love everyone in the whole world and maybe the whole universe. And if you're here, you may have tried waiting, and you may have had no fruition with that, nothing come about, knowing that you could do something but not knowing what to do. So here we're getting steps in order to achieve this goal of bodhicitta and what it can bring us for total enlightenment. And so now you're here and you're learning the steps to make it happen. And we're getting in the trenches and we're looking at how to achieve it. And you know, we may consider ourselves in the trenches and we may not, but in any case it's supposed to make us happier, so don't forget joyful effort. So and joyful effort has the 4 forces. Does anybody remember the 4 forces of joyful effort? Or at least the 4th. The 4th one's a really good one.
Become addicted to it.
No.
Become an addict.
No. No. The 4th one is taking a break. Leaving off. I thought you'd remember that one. So we need to work hard and to relax. Because we can all work better when we're relaxed. So that's the word I was looking for. I just found it. Kochik, which is or Kachik. I'm not sure how it's pronounced. Do you know, Bob? Kachik or Kochik in Tibetan?
The Kachikma is the person who presents the other idea.
Kachikma, okay.
Which is,
Kachik.
if you're talking about in reading text in the debate style.
In the debate style, yeah. Yeah. So the Kachika, the challenger in a debate. This is the one that asked Chichir, what do you mean by that? Which you all may have heard. Why do you say that? Is what Chichir really means. He's the other guy in the analytical meditation debate that's going on when you're sitting there. So that's something to think about, that you've got this Tibetan Buddhist monk, a Kochika, who's debating with you. If it helps you to visualize when you're doing that. So there's a 3-step method that Master Shanti gives us to increase our bodhicitta. And the 3 steps are real, actual ways that to care more for others. The best way to do it is to try it on the next person that you meet. So the things that I'm going over tonight, it would be really great if you went home and saw your family or your roommate or someone on the way that you could try out some of these techniques with, because the thing is that if you don't try them out in the first 24 hours, you're a lot less likely to be trying them. So, because we're not here for, I mean, maybe you're here for theory, but I think most of us are here for practice. So that's something that you can try out. So, it's trying these things out is the practicum part of the class. It's where the rubber meets the road, and it's actually doing it, putting it into practice that we need to try. You know, even if you are met with a homeless person, I know there's very few homeless people, I believe, in Rockport, although I could be very wrong. Gloucester's a different story. I mean, we do have a nice, well, I shouldn't say nice, I don't know, but we do have a shelter that was renovated recently. But I can tell you that that when I lived in New York City in 1982, Reagan was made so many cuts that affected the state and federal level that they were emptying out the long-term institutions for mentally ill people. And the way things changed on the street in New York was pretty amazing, because it was before Giuliani came in and did what he did to clean things up. So there was a period where the streets were thick with homeless people, disoriented, and many of them on really heavy psychiatric drugs. And it was, I had this experience that I had a really hard time being compassionate, because I was so angry about it. I was so angry that these people were put in this position, but I didn't do much to help any individuals I saw, because I saw them regularly near where I lived. So I turned my anger on the powers that be that I thought were responsible for it, because I thought everything was everyone else's fault. And rather than turning my compassion toward the people who were really just chattel in all of it, the people who were institutionalized for their lives and then turned out on the street with no real support. So now when I see a homeless person, I try to think of what way would it be possible for me to help this person. And I try to help with money if I can, but I know that I used to have the attitude that, well, this person is probably an addict of some sort, so I will have to give them food so that they don't spend it on something that's going to hurt them. Or I'd actually have the nerve to actually say to them, now don't spend this on alcohol. I actually did that more than once. And the thing that I've learned is that I have to give without attachment. I have to be able to give without expectation of the outcome, because otherwise it's it's not truly giving. It's calculated, and it's and it's part of the practice to let go of the outcome. So that's something I've learned kind of the hard way about trying to help people who are in straits around me.
Can I just add a
Sure.
bit? What I've been doing for the last 8 or 9 years is, shaking their hand, giving them some money, telling them I'm a friend of Bill, and that I recommend chocolate.
Yeah, but the thing about that is that, giving without thinking about where it's going is not a skillful means. And if you're giving money to someone and you know they're just going to continue to do what they do, to make their situation worse, wouldn't it be better to give them a jacket or a hat or some food? I mean, I have trouble with that idea, giving without any, it's great to not attach.
I do understand that. I do understand that, and you may be very right there. But if somebody gets some material good of some sort, and they're bound and determined to get drugs or alcohol, they're going to sell it.
Well,
so, I don't know. I didn't mean to open a can of worms with that. But I guess the point, and I didn't mean to call it a can of worms. Meaning, I didn't mean to give I don't mean to be giving advice on how you should give. I'm telling a story about how I learned that so many levels of attachment to blaming and attachment to how I was seeing things as happening, and with the government and these people, and also with how I felt that the people should help themselves, because everybody's got their own road to go down. So,
Plus, isn't there, there's the idea that if you're giving, it's really more about developing your own generosity and compassion, not about, because you don't know what that person will do or exactly what they need or what, so anything that you give is developing your generosity. And that's more important than worrying what they're going to do or wondering what they're going to do with it.
Well, if you can do something about it, why get upset? If you can't do something about it, why get upset? So, anyway, I'll go on to the methods. The methods that Master Shanti Deva shared. So, well, actually, Geshe Michael has given some names to these. So, because the first one of the methods is called Jampa, Jampa, which was the name of a monk who was at the monastery in Howell, New Jersey, with Ken Rinpoche. He was one of Ken Rinpoche's students. And he was really good at this one. So this one's called Watching the Other People's Eyes method. So it's about watching what people are glancing at, to be able to tell how to serve them best. Because if you want to serve them, you have to know what they want. So someone would come to the monastery and they would give a lot away with their eyes. So when they came in and there was tea and there was, different things presented to them, and Jampa would be able to go about and make the tea up the right way from people just from how they looked at things, so that he could please people and serve them well. So he would be able to anticipate what it was that they wanted, And this method is about that, about anticipating people's wants and needs. So Joppa got better and better at it, and he treated it like a game or even a science. And it can start very small with us. You know, try to decide whether someone who comes over, if they want tea or coffee. I mean, we do this when we have people come to the house. We may have both ready when we're having somebody over for coffee or tea. We don't know which they want. So, but it's the way to start small to make people happy, to try to see what they want closely, to observe closely what it is that they're wanting.
You know
and what
what?
would help them.
I have a hard time with this, maybe as a couples therapist. I feel that's what people do too much of, couples with each other. I think I know what you need or want, and then I act that way because I think I know what you need or want. And I always say this, 99% of the time, it's not accurate. So they need to communicate with each other and say, you know, would you like this or that? Because people have good intentions, but it leads to a whole series of
I understand.
confusion. So I don't know. That one I have a hard time with.
Well, the example he gave was of people that were not in couples.
No,
So I understand
but-
because that must be part and parcel of your practice.
Right, but even with individuals, you know, it seems a little presumptuous. I mean, coming from a good place, but to think that you can know what somebody else wants or needs
Mhm.
without asking them.
Was it presumptuous of me to ask if you wanted help with the air conditioning? Remember earlier today? Was I being presumptuous? Should I have not asked?
What were you two guys taking the air
Well, I
conditioners
saw
out?
him, you know, it looked like he needed help with the air conditioner.
But I think that's what she's saying, it's, the best thing is to ask.
Ask, you
Right,
ask.
but that's not the same as,
Good thing to ask, but
But it depends on where you're coming from. People,
Yeah.
some people are just totally oblivious to what other people are doing, and that idea of watching them and being sensitive is helpful to them. And other people are way over
Right.
on the other
Yeah.
side. They're, you know.
Yeah, I think that
Yeah, I've been known to be oblivious.
What did you say, Craig? He's been known to be oblivious.
well, everything in balance, everything in balance. Because that can be a great problem in relationships, because it's not necessarily about, but is that giving, is that more about the person who's giving and what they want as the outcome, or is it about, really truly about the person they're trying to serve?
It depends.
Yeah.
Well, and again, you know, it's still, I think, a lovely exercise to stop being in your head and just be thinking, even if, you know, it's not necessarily about coming to the exact conclusion, you know, or being able to read their mind, but the fact that you're stopping and thinking and wondering what they might want, what they might need. That in itself is still a lovely exercise.
Yeah.
And it comes back to the definition of character being one who has ethics and one who can take responsibility for stating what their needs are, especially in a relationship. And in AA language, there's a difference between caregiving, which is freely given, and caretaking, which can have a component of manipulation, or you know, you're doing it really for your own motive. And when you're talking about this, Elizabeth, I'm remembering Lama Julie talking about riding cross country in her car and giving a ride to somebody who was a student, and that when he gave, like, the toll keeper money or something, remember this? And he would do it with such just sort of silent devotion and make it a ritual. So, I mean, if you're feeling that kind of compassionate, maybe they're going to feel a little bit and be a little uplifted or something, who knows?
Yeah.
sorry.
No, it's cool, it's great. I like that we haven't had many discussions and I'm thrilled. I really am. All right, we'll go on to the second one. So the first one got a little bit panned, but give it a shot anyway. So the second one is he calls do a make-believe body switch. So put yourself in their shoes. So I'm going to exchange self and others by imagining that I am them and think as them, what do I want? But I am the other person. It's kind of a bit tantric because it's using a mental affliction against itself, because you're using your own selfish desire, which is what may be the culprit, Claudia, with the couples, that their own selfish desire is causing them to, foresee a future for their partner that fits their needs, but not that person's needs. So yeah, communication is good in that. But this is being in the other person's shoes and using what we have, which is, causes us suffering. But if we're selfishly desiring what that person wants, it isn't selfish. So the selfish desire is the I want. But if you put yourself in someone else's body, like now I'm Bonnie, and what do I want? I'm trying to think, what would Bonnie want?
Peace.
What does Bonnie want?
Peace. Hips stop hurting.
And give it to them. So be them and make sure it happens for them. Do all you can that's appropriate and ethical and all that, but use your common sense. So it's a way of breaking down the barrier a little bit more between you and them. So the first one was really no breakdown at all. It's just observation and acting on your observations. The second one, there's some breakdown because you're putting yourself literally inside their bodies. So you would do the second one after you talk to them about things that they want, and that you were what it would be like to be that. You were trying to feel what it would be like to be them, to want that. The third one is called the rope or the string. So here you're not putting yourself in another person's place. You remain yourself. And normally we see ourselves like as ending at our skin, or maybe a little bit further out with personal space and our aura and all that stuff. But if you make a red line around yourself, visualize yourself with a red line around yourself as to what is you, as opposed to anything else or anyone else. That's the string. The red line is the string. So here's the string, and here's me, and here's everything else outside it. So take the string, and what you do is you untie the string, and you take another person, like I take Bonnie, and I put the string around her as well, so that now she and I are in it together as one person. So what was formerly another person, Bonnie, is now, it's me. And so when I go and get ice cream I think you like ice cream, don't you?
You bet.
You bet, yeah. I need to get twice as much. And I need to get different flavors. Because I want now, what kind?
Heath Bar Crunch.
Heath Bar Crunch. So I have to get chocolate chip and Heath Bar Crunch. So that
I'm looking at her eyes.
No, I waited for her to speak, but I did get the ice cream. I remember ice cream. So you're not really walking in the other person's shoes, as in the second one. You reconceptualized yourself so that you and this person are one. It's really powerful to try to do this. It's not easy, but it's powerful. It's really combining emptiness and compassion, because of the emptiness of the self or selves and the compassion of wanting to care for the other person and get them ice cream and stuff. So the line we were drawing around ourselves was arbitrary and anyway, and just really drawn by our past karma. So it was all of our actions up till this life and even into this life paint this red line around us as to who we think we are and who we are separate from, all that we are separate from. So our karma is forcing us to see a small, finite, and limited me. A suffering, small, and mentally afflicted me. If we had better karma, that we would see that we are much bigger than we think we are, and we were not just me, we were everyone and nobody, which is almost the title of Lamaji's new book. It's called Be Nobody. So to get the good karma, to see ourselves as bigger and when I say bigger, I mean part of everything. We need to practice these 3 steps. And it's better to try them in order because of the graduation of the breakdown of the barriers. So we want to make others happy by serving them, and in making them happy, we'll be happier. And you want to dedicate what you've done at the end of every activity like this. And you can dedicate it to your own enlightenment in order to help all sentient beings become totally enlightened. Or you can give the merit away, which is perhaps, I am not sure which one is better to do. Giving away is probably accomplishes the same goal, and it's probably better to give it away. So just pick a couple people, maybe 1 or 2, with your home lamas if you've got them, or your best friend or something like that, or a relative. So start with somebody that maybe you feel pretty okay about, to make it easy to get started. And don't overwhelm yourself with trying to do this. Just start step by step. Because if you try to do too much or with too many people or whatever, you're going to set yourself up for failure and get discouraged. And we want that joyful effort with doing this. So when you're doing this with someone, try not to think about my needs, try to think about our needs. No, don't when you're thinking about, if you're thinking about their needs and my needs, just think of them all as your needs. Okay, so that it's semantics, but it's also very, very important to think about what they need as what you need. Think about, I'll take care of my needs now that I have 4 arms and 4 legs and 2 heads. That kind of my needs, our needs. And then do what you normally do to take care of that me, that bigger me. Because backing that up is emptiness, because the line was always changeable. That line that we saw around ourselves was always changeable, because you can lose parts of your body and still have a body. So if you can have an appendicitis attack and have your appendix taken out and still have a whole body, even though that part's gone, then why can't your body get bigger and have 4 arms and 4 legs? So just the same, this formerly other person is now part of your body. And you're just reinventing the idea of who I am, who me is. Reconceptualizing who I am. What were formerly 2 people are now just me. So redraw it. Redraw that line, visualize it. Because you were never inherently separate anyway. This was probably 3 years ago, but Lana Jesse talked about how Geshe Michael Roach at that point said he was coming up with a new teaching, equalizing and exchanging self with self. And that means that if you go on with this practice and you've made everyone part of you, you'll eventually be doing just that. You'll be exchanging yourself with yourself, as all beings will eventually be you. And he used a great proof of emptiness. He said, what is the real cause of me being able to get this piece of cheese in my mouth? Anybody know?
You've given cheese to somebody else in the past.
Right, I put cheese in someone else's mouth.
Or fill in the blank. Yeah.
Right. Right. So from giving cheese to someone else in the past, or some sort of food or sustenance, so if putting cheese into your mouth puts cheese into my mouth, then what's the difference between you and me? Because it's all the same. So this is what he used as a proof of emptiness. Does that make sense with me? Okay. This is the logic he uses, that if what I do helps you, eventually helps me, what's the difference between my helping you and helping myself? It's all the same. It kind of gave me a brain cramp at first, but it really does make beautiful sense. It's a lovely proof. So those are the 3 steps, and don't underestimate how powerful they are. They really are. They use both emptiness and compassion. The compassion in our hearts and the emptiness of ourselves. to express our bodhicitta toward other people. And it'll take you, these steps will take you a long way on the path of trying to see everybody as me, all other beings. So work up from it, from observation to wearing their shoes to the line thing. So just give it a shot tonight to do the observation thing if you can. If you can't tonight, then maybe tomorrow with someone who is in your life, or maybe someone that you just pass, you know, like in, what's the word I'm going for? Somebody who's paths cross with yours, if you have an opportunity. I'm going to do another meditation if you want to get comfortable again. So get comfortable and then let your body fall still. Slow your breathing down just a little bit. And then focus on the breath for a few moments to calm the mind, watching the air flow out and back in. Now go on a search. Try to find a fixed, solid me. Is my body me? Think about how the body's constantly changing and getting older by the minute. It's not at all the same body as it was a year ago. Think about what the body is made of. It comes from so many other sources. How can this constantly changing thing that is composed of entirely foreign substances be me? Observe the mind. Look at constantly changing thoughts and feelings. See them rise and fade. How could this constantly changing experience be me? So if I'm not my body and I'm not my mind, who am I? Next, you want to call to mind your mistaken perception of a solid and unchanging self. Something that's underneath this constantly shifting body and mind. A me who controls them. Lamaji calls it the Captain Kirk self. Think about how the body experiences pains that are beyond your control and how it functions without your consent. How could it be my body if I can't control it? Now watch the constant flow of thoughts in the mind and ask yourself, where are they coming from? Think about how you have no control at present when your mind gets upset or causes you pain. How could it be my mind if I can't control it? Start to get the feeling that there's no director of the body and the mind underneath it all. That this me you always thought existed is simply a fabrication of your mind. And observe the feeling of absence you may get as you realize the me that you always believed in is a me that does not exist. And take a deep breath in. And just let yourself come back to the room. So I want to go to the reading now on 169. Claudia, do you have it?
Yep.
We're reading the verses.
Suppose you say that the reason why you don't protect them is that their pain doesn't hurt you. Why then do you protect yourself from future pain, since it doesn't do hurt to you either?
Do I keep going? Yeah, thanks.
Your idea that you do so because you think to yourself that you will have to experience it is all wrong, because the person who has already died is the one, and the one who's taken birth is another altogether. And suppose that any particular pain were only something a particular one had to care about. If this were the case, then a pain in the foot would be nothing for the hand. Why then does it care? Suppose you say that, although that's wrong, you engage in this case due to the fact that you hold on to a self. This self and other, though, are very wrong, and nothing but something you should reject with all the strength you have.
Okay. Gyaltsab J in his commentary goes into detail about how we do things in the present to stave off things in the future. So we save money, we invest, we buy property, we buy insurance, and so on. So Master John Shanti Davis says, as he says, Gyaltsab J also says that it is wrong to not help other living beings avoid pain and avoid suffering because of this. Because if we protect ourselves in the future from future suffering, which does no harm to us in the moment, why shouldn't we help them? Because it does no harm in the moment to us as well when they're hurting. We should also help other living beings whose suffering does not cause us pain. It's simple logic. So that's another kind of proof that he's putting forth. So can you read question 1, Kevin? Do you have the homework handy?
In this latter section of the chapter, Master Shantideva gives another argument why it is wrong to say that we don't have to protect others from pain, since we cannot feel their pain ourselves. Relate this argument.
So the argument that he's talking about is based on the fact that we're ever evolving. That the person we are in the moment is a different person from the person we are in the future. You know, the cells change over completely every 7 years, but our minds are different. Not just our bodies, our minds are different. So his argument goes that if we don't help others because we do not feel their pain, then we should also not save for retirement of a future person that we are not, because who we're going to be when we're 65 or older is not who we are right now. And why are we trying to save future pain for someone who is not us? Do you want to check on what's going on? Just make sure everything's okay. What is it?
It's Walt.
Somebody she knows.
Oh, it's Walt. Okay. Come on in, Walt.
It's Wally doing bathroom duty.
Oh, okay, great. All right, that makes sense. Okay. So now we can get back to class. Okay. So his argument says that we shouldn't do something in the morning that will help us at night, like turn the light on if we're going out now that it's getting dark so early, so we won't trip, because that's not us when we get home. Whoever trips, you know, on the step, that's not me, so I don't have to turn the light on. So I'll save a little electricity money, you know. I'll say, and in doing that, you'd save them that, because somebody in the future is going to pay that bill, and it's not going to be you.
So who's the future person that trips?
Yeah. So, so we need not avoid generating bad karma by the same token through bad deeds for the benefit of a being who's not ourselves in future lives. So let me restate that. If we followed this to its end, there'd be no reason to behave well so that our karma would be good flowering in the future, because that wouldn't be us. Later in life, it'd be a different person, and of course in the next life, it'd be a completely different person. So, I want to go to the reading at the bottom of 173, the indented part. Starting with suppose. Janet, can you read?
Suppose you say now the following. Although it is wrong to assert that two objects which are unrelated should work to remove each other's suffering, here it's different. In this case, we assume that I have become accustomed to holding to a particular self. I consider the bodies of the previous and succeeding lives, and the bodies of the earlier part of the day and the latter part of the day, and so on, to be one person. It is due to the fact that I have become accustomed to this way, to thinking this way, that one of these engages in attempting to remove the pain of the other.
And does it go on and say Galt sub J responds? No? Okay. Well, he does respond that it is very wrong.
Yeah, it does say that.
It just
Okay,
doesn't say Galt sub J.
Can you
says,
read? Okay. That's my note to myself.
Oh.
Can you go ahead and read that?
Yeah. It is very wrong, though, to hold to the existence of this self and other, which are able to perform some action on their own. They are nothing but something you should reject with all the strength you have. This is because the tendency to hold on to some self-nature of the person is mistaken in what it believes to exist, and is responsible for causing every kind of devastation.
So the self and other, the division, that's what he's saying, causes every kind of suffering and devastation. So he's saying that the reason I protect the future me is that I consider this person myself. And the opponent here, the Kochika, readily admits it, but it's just a bad habit to do that, to see ourselves as self-existent. So we draw a red line that we're only this big. And, you know, I mean, anybody who's got kids, or even a partner, but especially kids, knows, moms and dads know that they have a very visceral experience of oneness with their children, especially when they're small, and that the line is bigger with them to encircle the kids, if not the entire family. And sometimes we draw lines around ourselves and things that we're attached to, which is something I think most of us are probably working on. I know I am. The first scratch on a new car, that's a good example of the kind of pain that this attachment is going to bring us. And then things like losing your cell phone and needing things for the house that you identify with so strongly, needing a new roof, which is pretty expensive. It can cause a lot of pain. But the self and the other they're just concepts, so we can reconceptualize. As we did with the string. And when we are thinking in these terms of self and other, this is when we're thinking of ourselves as self-existent. So this is when we think of ourselves as unchanging and having some fixed inherent qualities of being one way or another, and not acknowledging that we can change. Thinking, I am me and you are you, other and separate. And thinking that my quality of life or lives has nothing to do with what I do to in the world and how I treat others. I can hurt you and it won't hurt me at all. But it isn't true. We know it's not true. If I do hurt you, it will hurt me. I wouldn't feel the pain or the negative repercussions right away, right now, but I'll still be indeed hurting myself. It's the opposite of the cheese thing. So if I take the cheese from you, I won't have cheese in the future. Or something greater, more likely, as karma grows. So if I take your cheese, I may lose my entire food source in the future. So let's go into the reading on 174. Kevin, have you got that?
The things we call a continuum and the collection are unreal. Like a string of things or an army. That of one with suffering doesn't exist at all. So who is it that could ever control it? Since the one who owns a pain does not exist, there can be no distinction among them than any. If something is a kind of pain, then it is something to remove. What use is saying that it is fixed here? You can't continue your argument of asking why the pains of all are something you must stop. If you're going to stop it, then you must stop all of it. If not, then minds like other beings.
So he's saying that the me you're protecting doesn't really exist. So how is your pain separate from all others' pain exactly? That the being that you think of as me doesn't exist at all. So he's getting deeper here. Is everybody with me on that? Okay. The metaphor in the first part is of the body and the parts. And then he goes on to an army metaphor with all the army's parts. So what makes up the whole of the body or the army? And it's getting at the question of, is my body only my body when it's comprised of all its parts or just some? And if some, then which ones? And the same with the army. Like if you take away the charioteers, these are the 4 forces of a king, I think. Didn't we go over those? And if we take away the charioteers, do you still have a full army with just the elephants and the infantry and the cavalry? So which one is it, all or some? Does anybody have an answer?
Which one is one?
If you cut off your hand, do you still have a body without the hand?
Yes.
You do. Okay. So you could have your body without a hand or an appendix. And can you have an army without all its divisions? Yeah? Okay. And if you couldn't, then which sections would it be? Which divisions would be necessary? And how many soldiers would be necessary? 10 or 20 or 100? And how many cells are necessary to make the body? Do you have to have a certain number? The reason that the body or the army is a whole thing is because of the concept that overlays it. That is what says, it's a rule we make up that this is the concept and this is the entirety, even though it's missing parts. So that we say, yeah, that's a body, and yeah, that's an army. To have a person, what we do is we pull together all of our moments of mind, and all of the moments of mind make up what we see as a person. So that is me. And we put them together like a string of beads. So it's like a mala. And but what if the string broke, like on this wrist mala, where the beads are all loose? Now, would that still be considered to be a mala? With all the loose beads? No? They have to be strung together in order to have them appear that way and have us accept them as that way. It's the concept, which is the string. It's this concept of the mala. So there is a me that exists, and that's just the concept. It's like the 108 beads on a string. So we're just holding on to an idea that the me that I am, that my pain is separate from everybody else's. And that's the concept that we need to expand and understand more deeply. So it's just an idea, it's not even a correct one, that our pain is separate. Because other people's pain is not separate or different from our own. When they hurt, we'll hurt eventually. Can you go to page 174, Bonnie? The indented part.
175.
175?
Where it says the two cases.
Okay.
Okay, is that 175?
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
The two cases are not the same. In the former case of myself and others, the two beings involved are separate and have no connection. The feet and hands of any one person, though, are one collection of parts, and the person in his younger and older years, or else in his previous and succeeding lives, is one continuum. Therefore, in this latter case, it is logical that one of the members should undertake to remove the suffering of the other, whereas in the former case, it is not logical.
So let's go on to question 2. Craig, you want to read it? Yeah, you can see
Master
it.
Shantideva mentions 2 examples of the parts of the whole and gives a metaphor for each one. Relate the examples and the metaphors.
Okay. Well, the 2 that are cited are the collection of the parts that we were going over. So, say the collection of the parts of a person, and those are all the body parts. And the metaphor is the army composed of many kinds of fighters. And the second one is about the moments of mind strung together that we see as a person. And this is how the person existed in different points in time, pulled together. And the mala is the metaphor. Okay. Claudia, can you read question 3?
Master Shanti Deva does not accept the argument that we care for different parts of ourselves because they exist in these two senses. Why?
He says that the me, which we conceptualize from either looking at the collection of parts or a specific point in time, or the collection of different times of the person.
Could you repeat that?
It's all in the reading, Diana. It's all in the reading. That it's I'm sorry. The third one is the collection of different times of the person in the sense of a stream, that they're unreal and artificial. And he says that the me that we get from that is arbitrary and can be stretched out to include all other beings just as easily as it is to the description that we've come up with, or the definition that we've come up with. So he's saying that no matter how you look at the me is expandable and is changeable and can be including all other living beings. So, Kevin, can you read on page 178?
By accustoming yourself to the idea, you have learned to think of a few drops of semen and blood that belong to other people as being yourself, even though there is no such thing at all. Why then do you say you cannot think of the bodies of the other people as being yourself as well? There isn't any difficulty in deciding that the bodies of others are your own body too.
So think about it, where you came from your mother and father. They provided you with the materials to build your body, but there was no ego or self or me at the time of conception. So from the very beginning, that didn't exist. So how can it be inherently existing if it didn't exist from the very beginning? If we can accustom ourselves to the idea, we'll be able to eventually see others' bodies as our own. That there isn't a me and there isn't a self. We already do see that, because we do understand that the sperm and the egg came together from other people. So we weren't inherently separate at the beginning. It's just a little tiny bit of a genetic material that came from both of our parents that made up our body. So already the line between our bodies and their bodies is blurred. So we, all the same, we still keep the separation state of mind, separation. Because we think we're safer that way. We think that separating my happiness from yours is a safer way for me to operate. But it doesn't work. I can't separate my happiness from yours. It's through serving you that I get happy. It's the separation thing, that approach backfires because it makes me less compassionate, and the compassion is what's going to bring me happiness, caring for other beings. So that's why they call it ignorance, because we're doing exactly the opposite thing that we should be by separating ourselves from others. So on page 179, this is where the objection might be made by the Kanchika. I could never come to think of another's body as me, or of the I that belonged to another as being my I. How then could I ever reach the state of mind where I learn to act towards other people's happiness and suffering in exactly the same way that I do towards my own? So, question 4, Bonnie, can you read that? Do you have that handy?
What example does Master Shantideva give to show that in practice we can learn to think of other people's eyes as my eyes, and so on?
It's through practice that we see through other people's eyes as our own. I just want to look that up. Oh. This refers back to the idea of the genetic material coming from our parents as being the source of our body. And so therefore, if their bodies made our body, that our bodies come out of their bodies material, then why can't we see other people's eyes as our own? Does that make sense? As a metaphor? Okay. Diana, can you read on page 180, just the indented part?
Come to understand that for myself it's wrong, but for all others an ocean of fine qualities. Discard completely your habit of caring for yourself and learn to take on every other being.
And so this is what being Bodhisattva is all about. Taking on every other being. Diana, can you continue on 181?
Sure. When you think of your hands and such, you do consider them all a part of your body. So why then don't you consider every creature that has a body as being one of the parts of the body of all living kind?
And Bonnie, you want to read on 182?
Because you've gotten used to it, you're able to think it's mine, this body, which actually has no self. Why do you say then you could never learn to think of others as me if you got used to it? If you could then if you could then, you would never feel that it was strange nor conceited when you worked for others. You don't expect congratulations from yourself whenever you eat your dinner for yourself. For that reason, you must get used to a state of mind where you protect all beings, and to thoughts of compassion as well, protecting them just the same way that you protect yourself, even from the very least unkind word.
So he's saying that another advantage, Master Shantideva is saying that another advantage of seeing all beings as being me is that it protects us from what I'll call bad pride or arrogance or conceitedness. So if you're seeing all people as part of you, it deflates the ego because you're all doing great, not just me, just not my little me. It's everyone. It's the big me. It's like feeding yourself. It's just what you do to live. It's not, nobody's going to throw you a parade because you ate dinner. So it's samey with helping others for bodhisattva. It's a side benefit. A side benefit is being humble. And thinking, I'm not special because I'm taking care of you, it's just what I do. So no hesitation, I don't even think about it. It's just, that's it. So Craig, can you read question 5?
And what reason does Master Shantideva give for saying that eventually we won't think of working for others as anything amazing, nor feel any conceit for doing so?
And it's from the humbleness that we develop, and that he goes over in the previous verses. So, Diana, can you read on page 185?
Contemplation on the enemy of the body. Because of your attachment for your body, you feel great feelings of fear for little frightening things. Since this body then is a source of terror, who then wouldn't despise it like they would some hated enemy?
Can you go on 186?
Yeah. We spend our days to find a technique of curing those illnesses of the body, hunger and thirst and the rest. To do so, we slaughter birds and fish and wild beasts of the forest too. We lay in wait at crossroads for it, for profit and to win the honor others give us. We would even kill our parents, stealing also things belonging to the triple jewel, passing on to burn for it in hell of endless torment. What wise man could ever then desire this body, care for it, and make unto it offerings? Who is it that wouldn't see the body as the enemy? Who then not disdain it?
So, I'm jumping ahead to question 7, which is name 5 of the reasons Master Shantideva gives for why wise people come to see the body as the enemy. And they're all contained in the verse start on 186. So you can get it out of there. If Claudia, you could read on 188.
Thinking of yourself and saying, if I give, what will I have for me? If I give, what will I have for me? Is nothing but demonic. To think of others and to say, if I use this for myself, what will I give? Is angel dharma.
So that's beautiful, angel dharma.
Really?
It's really inspiring. So the commentary says that angel dharma brings all good things, and that abundance comes from generosity, not the other way around, not miserly keeping things. It's challenging though, because our natural instincts go the other way. So when we're not flush, we get protective, right, with our money, and we stop spending. But it is the time to open up. So this is our job, holding the line of generosity when we have less to give. Because it makes it worse if we don't. Our abundance, the flow of our abundance will stop as well. So it does stop the flow. I mean, like it did in the Great Depression, everybody panicked and took the money out of the banks, and the banks all crashed. So I have a personal experience of having a real problem with lack of generosity in my past, and it's something I'm working on. But I used to be really miserly about, people would ask me to give massages away all the time. And I would always say no. I'd always say no. I can't do that. Can't work that hard. And with this practice, I tried to change that stance. And as soon as I started making even small changes that way, things just started to flow for me. And it was pretty dramatic. Because I'd say probably 40% of my practice now is either pro bono or barter. So for people who don't have money to get massage, but I'll trade them something. And it's just made a huge difference. It really has. So I can attest to that. So now we come to the best part, Contemplation 28. Janet, you want to read it?
The total amount of happiness that exists in the world has come from wanting to make others happy. The total amount of suffering that exists in the world has come from wanting to make yourself happy. What need is there for many words? The children of the world work for their own sake. The able Buddhas do their labor for the sake of others. Come and see the difference.
I love these lines. They're just beautiful. When he's talking about the children of the world, he's talking about the spiritually immature. Those are who the children are. So the question 6 asks you to write and memorize those 2 verses. So it's pretty hard to follow that up. The total amount of happiness that exists in the world has come from wanting to make others happy. The total amount of suffering that exists in the world comes from wanting to make yourself happy. I think of my Holy Lamas, my Holy Lama Mary Kay and Holy Lama Marut, and all the Lamas I have to thank for teaching me the Dharma, and I think about how they're always helping, always giving, always caring for others, and spreading the Holy Dharma, and they're happy as a result. And I really want to find that happiness myself, and I wish that all for you guys too, that kind of happiness. Me too. So I think the meditation assignment is exactly the same again, isn't it? Is it? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. I thought I'd check that. So you guys have got to dig deep with this.
He's making a point. He's definitely making a point.
It's definitely making a point. It's funny because I don't remember that from this class. I don't remember. I'm sure I just blocked it out, or it just made me angry or something. Something like that. So I just want to do a little dedication before we do prayers. And that is, may we all learn to exchange self and others to care for their happiness as we do our own, for their happiness is our happiness. So let's say prayers. Oh, I didn't say prayers in the beginning. Next time remind me. Kevin, do you have them?
I do.
Okay, can you say it in English?
Here's the great earth.
Filled with the smell of incense, covered with white flowers, the great mountains, the four continents, wearing the jewel of the sun and moon. In my mind I make them the paradise of Buddha, and offer it all to you. By this deed may every living being experience the pure world. Idam Guru Mandala Nirvatayami.
By the goodness
Of what I have just done, may all beings complete the collection of merit and wisdom, and thus gain the two ultimate bodies that merit and wisdom make. Sarvamangalam. May all beings be happy.
Please stay. Please stay. Please stay.